Thank you so much for joining us on a guest episode during which we discuss the realities of a career in the performing arts with those who are fit to talk about it.
And if you like what we do, please leave us a review. Go on, do it. Or on Spotify, click that follow button.
And if you like our meaningful, helpful, accurate, and information and want to be coached by us too, then Fit2 Perform is for you.
Yes, it is. You can find more about it on Instagram or on our website, fit-2.co.uk.
Now, moving on, we have an incredible guest for you today.
Yes, we do. Well, let me tell you about today's guest. Today's guest was most recently in Bat Out of Hell in the West End and on the Australian tour, playing Scherzzo and first cover Raven. I was told to say it exactly like that. She's also appeared in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolour Dreamcoat, banger, and the UK workshop of Clueless, the musical, As If. Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, niche joke. She's an American in London. It's the brilliant Alexandra Doar.
I really love that you said, I've been told to say it like that. We should say by me, not by us.
By you.
I told myself.
So, welcome.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to be here.
Thank you for joining us in our sack-covered studio.
Hey.
Big fan, actually.
Yeah, see, the sacks are nice. Respect the sack.
We should describe this. So for people who are, listening to
Home
this,
listeners.
to give you an idea, we have moved studios a fair number of times during our
Yes, we
recording
have.
process.
We've been all over the place.
We're currently homed permanently now in this wonderful studio that has, for what appears to be no reason, half sacks of coffee beans draped over only two of the walls.
Yeah, I will say there is no particular rhyme or reason for the coffee sacks. I can get on board with it.
You just love coffee.
I do love coffee, so it feels good.
So we're fine.
Feels right.
I'm trying to think of any. I'm just really a bit amused now.
Oh, maybe it absorbs some sound. Not a lot.
Yeah, on a technical level, I reckon that's probably.
I mean, it's more likely that they just had some lying around and they couldn't be bothered to buy paint or something.
Yeah.
Right?
If you take that off, there's some really shoddy work.
I kind of want to do it now.
Yeah, I wonder what's behind it.
They are stapled into the wall, which is my favourite bit about it, because that's the level of commitment they've gone with this, is they've got a giant industrial stapler.
Do you not have this in your home? Is this not like a normal thing that you have things stapled to your walls?
Only in my hallway.
Why in your hallway?
Mine's my whole bathroom, actually.
The bodies.
Oh, nice. Wow, okay.
Dark turn.
It's gone to a true crime episode.
They're popular podcasts, aren't they?
They are popular. Yeah, maybe we can just move into true crime now.
Before I ask you the first question, Alex, a segment of our podcast is called Liar Liar. And
Hands on fire.
It used to be a segment, and now it's the entire thing, in which we've
grown.
at some point during this recording for you to try and tell us a lie. And what happens is the people that are listening at home or wherever they might be, and us two are going to guess at the end whether you managed to tell a lie / remembered, and also
most importantly, remembered.
yeah. And also what it is.
Yeah.
So at the end, we'll go, right, don't tell us if you've lied or not, and we will then guess, and Bobby and I keep a score to see who's guessed correctly the most times.
Okay.
Now, this is episode 121, and just to confuse you, the score is currently 1-1.
Yeah, I do love that we just randomly decided that we were going to end the current
You hit 10.
season.
You hit 10.
Oh, yeah, we hit 10. Yeah.
You guessed 10
So you have
correctly.
guessed more than just one in 121 episodes.
Yes.
Not many more than one.
But it's alternate episodes are guests and talk episodes. So there's been about 60 odd guest episodes now, and that leaves us at a score of, I can't remember what I had, but it's probably like 7, and you had 10. So we've got 17 guesses correct-ish, and then now an extra 2.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a good ratio. No. Some guests genuinely forget to lie, which may be you, and others are so small.
Yeah, people have gone for niche stuff recently.
Beyond the purpose of it. It's like, the story was true, but my hair was light blonde, not sandy. And you're like, okay, like, fine.
Yeah.
But
I'll see what I can do. I'll work on it.
I'm excited. Yeah. So in that case, how does the story of Alex's life begin?
Once upon a time, in a small English town called St Albans, I was born. And I came out singing and dancing. totally just kidding. This is really bad.
I love how this is starting. This is fantastic.
Just kidding. Like we at some point suspected it was truth.
Just kidding. No, that's the lie. I wasn't born. There we go.
Okay. Oh, I thought
I'm
the singing and
ethereal.
dancing was
The singing and dancing.
I wasn't born.
Yeah, that's the lie. Woo.
I was created. Oh God.
So yeah, I was born in St. Albans, and then I grew up there until I was about 5. And then my family moved over to the States because I'm half and half. So my dad's British and my mom is American. So we moved over there to kind of be with the family. And from a very young age, I never really knew what it was that I was doing musicals or performing, or I wasn't aware that I was being brought up as a stagey kid. But I absolutely was. And my parents were definitely very into it. And I totally was as well. But so I went in and I did, growing up in the States, I did like all the choirs. I did a load of like talent competitions that, oh gosh, there was this one that was all around. Oh my God, I can't even talk. This is so bad. Can't talk. Okay. Yeah, but all around San Diego, there were a load of choirs and a load of talent competitions that I was that really stagey kid, totally unaware. And then what happened? A lot of blanks around the age of 10.
Found out a lot of stairs.
Do we fill in the blanks?
Yeah.
Are we making it?
Your turn,
I'm
yeah.
doing it. All right.
This is an improv game, and I'm passing the baton. Yeah.
Okay.
Bobby, what happened next?
Well, there was a dinosaur. There's always a dinosaur.
Your turn,
Never
yeah.
call my grandma. No. Thankfully,
How dare you?
None of my family listen, so it's fine.
Wait, now you're making it out like I am actually calling your grandmother a dinosaur.
Hey, you said it.
Yeah.
Oh!
My family all will listen to this, so I have to be really careful. I have to be very, very well behaved here. Hi, mother and father.
Just
Hello.
blame me.
Yeah,
It's fine.
It's all your fault. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Bobby's
always-
a total angel in
Exactly.
this.
Yeah.
Scherzo.
You can always just claim that we handed you a piece of paper with lines on it. So if you say anything, insulting to your family, you can be like,
I was being held at gunpoint.
This is a hostage video. Cool. Okay.
Hostage crime thriller.
Wow, this is taking a turn, and I like it.
Love
dinosaur
it.
crime thriller. So
Yeah, so I
forgive
grew
us.
up in the States and then did kind of high school and stuff all over there. I never did drama in school. I was much more of like an artist, weird, nerdy kid. I hung out with all the stoners and potheads, and yeah, so I kind of like just did high school. We came back to the UK when I was about 17 to do A-levels. Didn't really know what that was because I don't know if you guys are aware, or listeners, if you're aware, the whole education system in the States is very different. So it's all like continual assessment. Like you get part of your grade is turning up to a class every day. Excuse me. Part of your grade's turning up to a class every day. If you write your name on your homework, you get some points. Like you get extra credit for like writing a book report on something totally unrelated to what you're studying. Anyway, so I did great in school. I was like straight A student. Yeah, I know you're so
this.
shocked, but it worked really well for me.
I'm like, that's excellent.
That's way better.
Exams were all multiple choice, every single one. I didn't write
stunning.
a single essay. So then coming over here and I went straight into A-levels, which of course is you have one giant essay that you write at the end of the year and that's your entire grade. And I went from like A plus, A minus, A plus, A to D, D, E, U on my A-level exams. Again, none of which were drama. I really wanted to be a historical accuracy advisor on film sets. I love history, huge history nerd.
Let's just jump back a second.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's a lot of information.
One
Go
thing,
ahead.
really appreciated the family-friendly version of I hung out with the stoners. We'll just leave that there. Which negates,
Sorry, mummy.
which negates your involvement entirely.
Oh, yeah.
And very smartly done. And then we jumped from A-levels to historical. At what point did you go, one, this job exists, and two, I want to do it?
So basically, again, another thing that I've definitely gotten from my mom is also a huge history nerd. And growing up, I don't think I watched a single film that was set post 1400. So like, it was just everything had archers and all these horses. And I grew up riding horses as well. So it was a lot about like the armor and the castles and the horses. And I was like this princess, and it was just a really, I still absolutely romanticize this whole like historical world that someday I will be back in time in this world. And I just love it. So so I grew up on all these movies, all the Robin Hood, all that kind of stuff. And I'd always kind of gone, oh, well, maybe I kind of do performing a little bit on the side, like maybe bring the two together. For a while, it was I wanted to be a history professor, but then I realized I'm a terrible teacher, real bad. So I was like, well, maybe I'll work on film sets. I've only recently discovered that's what it's called, but I wanted to like work on film sets and do the historical side of filming.
Filming. That's so intriguing. I love that time period too. Massive nerd. I say time period. Some of it is fantastical.
Medieval England. Gets me.
Have you done any LARPing?
No, but I was president of the D&D Society at university.
Love your work.
Thank you.
Big fan.
How on earth did that happen?
I was the only girl there.
You might as well have had the title God.
I walked up when I went to university. There was like the big like fair all around, and you walked up to the table, and it was like these two kind of like your average like nerdy guys that you just. And I'm like, oh my god, because I'd played it. An ex of mine played it, and I kind of got into it that way. And again, because I'm a nerd, I was like, well, this is great. So I was like, hi guys, like I play D&D. Like, do you have a club I can join?
And one of them died, and then and a spot opened up right for you.
And the other one took a sword and knelt before me, and and they were. I absolutely love. I'm still in touch with quite a few of them, but it was just a really because I don't know. I've always considered myself a misfit. Like, I think even like in or out of the industry, just in life in general, I've always gravitated towards kind of the weirdos and the nerds, and like I love it. That's totally who I identify with. So it was
we don't at all.
No, not for a second.
No. That doesn't ring true with us.
Yeah, I don't know how I hang out with you. No.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm painfully cool, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that about you.
Painfully, keyword.
Painfully cool in a really painful way.
Yeah.
It's really painful to
I
watch.
walk in and people are like, ooh.
Very cool.
Yeah, do you know what? I have never played D&D, and it feels like something that I absolutely would have done.
Yeah, that feels like a you thing.
It
D&D.
does feel like a thing I would have done, but it's never come across my path. And
Would recommend.
Would recommend 10 out of 10. I feel like I would enjoy it. It's not something you can sort of explore by yourself.
No.
You need a group of people to go.
No, that's just sitting in a dark room talking to yourself. That's a different thing.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that we both do all the time.
We
got that nailed.
When you
That's
leave,
what you're doing now.
This is just a made-up situation.
the podcast when it's just us two. It's
It's always in the dark for some
You
reason.
faked the Spotify page. It's all,
So love that for you, and want to get involved next time, which sounds hilarious. How did you get back from America to here?
So
I mean,
it was
by plane, I assume, but-
we flew.
Yes.
With my wings. Listeners, you can't see these. I do have wings. So we flew. My whole family came back because it was kind of like we'd spent like quite a big amount of time with my mom's family over in the States. So they're still over there, but then my dad's family and his parents are still here. So it kind of all just made sense. And it was when I would have like gone into A-levels anyway. So the schooling time made sense. My dad and brother stayed in the States for quite a bit longer. My brother is 5 years younger than me. Hey, Tom, if you're listening. Hey, dude.
Hey, Tom.
Sup, Tom?
You're my big fan.
Yeah.
I hope. Sorry. Blech. So, yeah, we all came back and I went into A-levels and we lived, we're up in Derbyshire, based in a nice little country town in the middle of a field. It's lovely.
That's true. I know that bit's true.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
The rest I'm unsure of, but that bit's true.
All the potential lies.
You're like, I hate D&D and you're all nerds.
I've just been trash talking you.
That's oddly cruel, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be brutal.
I hope there's some...
That would be a bit sad. I would feel very horrible for that.
Let's find out at the end.
That's it. Yeah.
She's like regretting it now. Like, oh God, no, I'll just pretend.
Take it back.
I'll say another lie and then. So then you decided to go to drama school.
No, actually, I didn't get any other offers. So I started once I figured out that I was getting awful grades in my A-levels and there was nothing I could do to change that. I did really well in spoken French. Can't speak it anymore, but I got great marks in that. That was it. So then I was kind of like chatting it over with my mom and I wasn't getting any great grades to do history or anything. And then she was like, well, maybe you could, because I did some random singing lessons. And he was like, well, I think like apply to some of these schools. So I applied to all the big ones, like the Arts Ed, Guildford, Mount View, didn't get into a single one, didn't get past first round. And it was like this whole new world that I had I'd been brought up on, like, I'd watched My Fair Lady thousands of times. And like I listened to Broadway Kids as a CD as a kid, but like I didn't know that it was this industry, that it was this thing that I could actually do. So my mom was like, well, maybe do this. And so I applied to all these schools, didn't get into any of them, did get into a university, Chichester, to do music and musical theater. So it was much more of an academic course, but I also, because I played piano and studied music and could read music, so I was like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. So I kind of went, and then as I was there, I just grew this, like, love for it, because it was all I could do. It was just, it always felt great, and I really enjoy pushing myself. I'm very much a pusher of myself. That was so stupid. Wow. Do you ever have things come out of your mouth, and I'm like, what? I'm an educated person, and I can't tell.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Like on the podcast, regularly.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the
Great.
time.
Anyway, so there we go. Yeah, so then went to this university, and I just really kind of grew a love for it. At the end of the 3 years, I was like, well, all of these people have already done drama. Loads of them have done youth productions. Anyone who's like been a kid in Lion King or a kid in Annie. So I was with all these people that had kind of already known the industry existed for way longer. So I was like, okay, I'll give it another go, and I'll try for these drama schools. Didn't get in again. Not a single one. It was like LSMT, RADA, Lambda, RAM, all of the schools, nothing. Except for where I ended up going, AMTA. I think it's very much changed now. It's a different school. But yeah, I got in and did a year there. And it was just insane, because that was where it was actually like the teachers were all, as is regular at normal drama schools, I think, where the teachers are all just current practitioners and performers, and they're all in the industry. So it was like the most intense year of learning of my life. And I loved every second. It was, I mean, I cried a hell of a lot of it. It really broke me, but it made me who I am. Absolutely. Like the teachers that I had that while I was there, they were so formative of me now. Yeah, and I just can't imagine it going any other way than all this refusal. Then I was like, well, like, I'll just keep pushing on. I'll keep pushing on. It's like now anytime, because during Joseph, I'm sure you're aware that actually not in the, did you ever do the Ken Wright production?
I did not.
So you guys didn't have as many children as we did?
No, in town we had like maybe 8, and we didn't really interact with them.
But we interacted with them all the time. They were the brothers.
They were just never near me.
Was that the one where one was Potiphar? Did you have that?
Yeah.
Oh.
But they were always like, we were always in like a weird height order. Or it was
I
basically
felt like
only
I was
you
surrounded
next to me.
by them.
It was only you next to me most of the
Just
time.
because you're like 12 feet
to each
tall,
other.
Steffan.
We were
Yeah.
constantly
We were
next
two
to each
older
other.
brothers, so it was actually like, Bobby.
I was definitely not
and
the
others.
tallest brother. I was the oldest. I was not the tallest.
True. So then we had, on the Ken Wright one, there was like 40 kids around the side.
Yeah, but it was like at the
60.
pre-show, anytime before the show, like we always like, maybe it's just because at heart I do actually quite like kind of like supporting kids, and I don't know. The part of me that hates being a teacher actually really loves kids. So anyway, not weird. What was I saying?
I really enjoyed watching that thought process. That we had lots of kids on there.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so we'd always like hang out with them and get chatting with them, and so many of them were like, like some of the older ones were like auditioning for drama schools or colleges, and the younger ones were just there because their parents needed a weekend off. But some of them were so good, and they were so inspired. So just really, I absolutely loved kind of going there, and they were like, oh, what have you done? Like, how'd you get into these schools? And I was like, I didn't get into any. Like it's not where you train, it's how you train. Like the whole time I was at uni, every single extracurricular thing I ever saw, I was like, yep, signing up for that. So many workout classes, extra dance classes, all of the shows that they were all optional. So I think I was at uni with quite a few people who throughout the course of uni didn't do a show. So it was like, there were so many opportunities that you could take that just made it all that bit better. So that was any of the kids that they were like, I want to go to drama school. What should I do? I was like, this is what you do. It doesn't matter where you go or where you get into. Like if you believe in yourself, and as wanky as it is, if you believe in yourself and you really push yourself that bit harder, you can do it.
Yeah, I love that.
The end.
Yeah.
End of podcast. Thank you so much. That's been great.
Peace out.
That was it.
I really like that concept that it's not where you go, it's what you do with it, essentially, because that is absolutely the case, right? Like there's people who've been to the best drama schools in the world by someone's rating, and not worked.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of those people, and there's people who've been to drama schools that other people don't rate that highly, who've had careers that most of us would absolutely dream of. So I think that's very valuable advice in general, because it's like what you do with the training you receive, I suppose, in that sense. Although, nowadays, you're not allowed to speak to those kids. What it is terrifying is when those kids are now grown adults, and you see them in auditions or in shows with you.
Terrifying.
It's real. It's real.
Has it happened to you?
Yep. And quite often now, I've had students who were in a show with me when they were a kid. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
Hi. How are you? And obviously I don't remember their name. And I'm like, how are you? Buddy?
Friendo?
Hey.
You've not changed at all.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's very strange.
Did you have the beard when you were 6?
Yeah. That's a question for Bobby.
Yes is the answer.
Yes.
It was more of a goatee.
Yeah. Right. When did your beard grow in?
I think I first grew a beard when I was 16.
It is amazing.
It was a goatee.
It's one of the best I've ever seen.
Why, thank you. It's my pride and joy.
He shaves his whole face within 2 days.
What do you look like clean shaven? Is
Papa
your
John.
chin, does it come up here? Or is it one of those
Brad Pitt?
No, I look exactly like Papa John.
I gotta look that up when I go.
Yeah. It's
Thrilled.
terrifying.
Can't wait for this.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So
Go look it up.
So you went to AMTA and then got an agent and.
So it was a funny way because while I was at AMTA, one of my teachers actually got me some of my first auditions for Les Mis. Loved it, thrilled. Nice. And I started doing well in auditions, and I was like, wow, I'm in it, I'm doing it, the thing. And I got for Joseph, it was like. I grew up, again, watching Maria Friedman and listening to Lindsay Haley, and they were like my 2 idols. And I had, again, no idea that they did this thing called musical theater, but I just knew that I wanted to be them. And I met Lindsay the other day and absolutely had the biggest fangirl moment about her.
That was at our launch event. We should plug that a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. At the launch event, that was great, amazing. Met her there, and I was like, Lindsay, I grew up listening to you, and you've inspired my voice, and I'm a big fan. So I saw the Joseph Breakdown come out in Spotlight, and I didn't have an agent at this point. I'd been chatting to a few, but hadn't really gone anywhere with it. And I was like, I'll just apply. And I did, and I got an audition, and it was great. And I went, and anyone who's done Joseph will remember, bless his soul, Henry Metcalf, the loveliest, most hardworking man in the whole industry. And he auditioned me, and he said, right, you're brilliant. I'm calling you back. I will see you next week. And I was like, oh my God. And I've had this little star moment. And anyway, so then went back and did it again for good old Bill. And Good old Bill. And he was really lovely and really supportive. And he was like, but he kind of looked at me, and I walked in, and he was like, right, so tell me a bit about yourself. And I was like, oh, well, I trained here and I did this. And he was like, oh, well, you might want to put that on your CV, because all I can see is your photograph, is your headshot. And I had all of my Spotlight had been set to private. So somehow I'd gotten this whole audition process entirely based on my picture. Great. So quickly went in and changed that. Yeah, but then waited months and months and months. And I was like, I don't have this. This is crazy. And then one of the agents I'd been chatting with, I called him and I was like, look, if I sign with you, can you please chase this, because I want to know if I have this job. And I did. So I signed, and he was like, yeah, you're still in the mix. Yep. And that's, yeah. And then about another month later, he called me and he was like, so they've offered it to you. And it was like this role that growing up, it was like this dream role in a dream show that was so grandparent friendly that all my family could come and watch and love this show.
So grandparent friendly.
And so it was just this whole dream come true that I was like, oh my God, from 2 years ago, I didn't know what this business was and what I was doing. I had no idea any of this. And I just again, on that tour, I honestly learned more than I learned in my 4 years at university and college. It was like trial by fire, that show. Because it was 10 shows a week, singing the narrator, in the male key, an octave up, which was great fun. Because apparently in the 70s it used to be a man.
Yeah, the very, very original was.
Very original. Yeah. And so they never changed the key because like for Sheridan, they changed the key and all that.
Yeah, they'll move all the songs around all over the place.
Yeah.
But that
but
production
not
won't.
for us.
Yeah.
So it was like, strange as it seems. Yeah. And it was just great. Just great.
We had very different experiences of that audition process because when I did it, they did the entire audition process in 4 days. And they were like, it was the Friday, and it was starting on the Monday.
Oh, you were one of those.
And they were like, so we'll let you know in about an hour. We were like, okay, like cool. And then we had, I think it was from the Monday, I think we opened on the Sunday. Like we took over a cast that was already happening, and it was like a full takeover. They were only keeping 2 people. It wasn't like there was no strange crossover. It was like, hey, here's the music. You open in 6 days.
Like, yeah. We had that. It was like
good.
It was like, but yeah. So it was like 4, but it was almost because Bill would come in and watch the last day of rehearsal. So it wasn't 6 days. It was like 4.5.
Yeah, and Henry would be pooing his pants at that point because he was terrified that Bill would come in and go, "What the hell have you done to this?
What is this?
What is this?" Yeah. And that was very stressful in its own way.
Crazy show. Loved every second. Yeah.
How do you manage that when there's 10 or some weeks 12? I don't know if you had that at any point.
Honestly, we had around Panto, we had a 16 show week.
Stunning work.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Good.
16 shows.
Yeah.
Good.
So it was because we had two dress runs, and then we somehow had 2-3 show days within a week, and then the rest were all double show days.
Nice.
So it was woo. Took some, but honest, like the stamina that we had, like even now, I'm like, darling, I can't do that. Yeah. Like 8 shows, gosh, I'm at my peak. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ever sustained singing the narrator 10 shows a week. I think I did go off with, it was like there was one time in York, I was off for about 6 days with tonsillitis, laryngitis, and bronchitis. Yeah.
At least they all came at once.
Yeah. Got it all out of the way. Yeah.
Get them out.
Laryngitis is terrifying as a performer. Like, you get that and your voice it just goes and you're like, will I ever make sound again?
Yeah. Oh,
like,
it's the worst.
Is it nodules? Like, it's like, I'm pretty sure I was doing stuff right.
That's not just learned. That's everything. Like, I have a sip of coffee and like go, ha, ha, oh my God, nodules. Ha.
There was that thing. I'd never heard of nodules until I went to drama school. And then a girl got nodules. And then we were all like, what? Like, what is this? And they were like, oh yeah, you can't sing. No.
I only ever learned about it in that Pitch Perfect movie.
Yeah.
Where she goes, I had nodules and now I'm a bass. I was like, is that real? Can that?
And you're like, no.
I've definitely looked it up several times. Like, can I be a baritone?
Yeah. Well, niche casting. You might get the job.
Yeah.
Do you know, if I get nodules, maybe I could return as like a mezzo.
I'd love it if it does that to your voice.
Well, that's where current music theatre male singing is, right? So it might help. I'm kind of up for that.
Have a whole new register.
Now, you just did that crazy tour of Bat Out of Hell and then the London stint as well.
Yes, yeah.
And you were only telling me the other day how physically tough that
Oh my God, yeah. And that was, listeners, several times I've used the Fit2 personal training scheme. Absolutely love it. Big fan. Like, this is an ad. Use my code DOOR11 for your not existent discount. But I would
creating a discount in the background.
DOOR11. No, but I'm really big fan. So before the show, I was like, oh my God, this is like, even just as I was auditioning, I was like, this is crazy. This is nothing I've ever done before. And I am not a dancer. I'm very much a singer mover, strong mover, not a dancer. And this was a very dancey show. And I looked at the choreographer and her work was really, really intense. And then anyone in the auditions, it was all like Bird, Lane, Erdang, all these like big dance schools that I was auditioning with these people. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm never going to do this. And then I got the job and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. So I'd been training with Steffan for quite a while to kind of keep up my stamina and make sure all my muscle groups were working properly. And even with, what was that? That was like 3 months of training that I'd done with Steffan. And by the end of that show, so I'm still now, it's been quite a few weeks and I'm seeing a chiropractor every week. I've had 4 deep tissue sports massages. And I wake up every morning and have to do this really long set of stretches because my whole spine has been seized up due to my hips doing something weird.
I
So
should
it's
say,
like,
this sounds like I messed up Alice.
yeah, it does. Yeah.
That sounds like your
Sorry.
fault.
Backtrack. Retell that whole story. Yeah.
But we should say that you went into that, in my opinion, as prepped as a performer could be.
At what I felt was at peak fitness
Yeah.
for me at the time. Like,
And then your movement patterns are firing up in the correct way to perform all this stuff. It's just the demands of the show.
the demand, and when you finish a show and you have, and I don't know how, quite a few of my castmates did it where they would like go to the gym and then go to the show and then go to the gym again, and I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. I couldn't do that. So it was just the energy I was using in the show. I was like, well, that's basically my workout. Like, I'm doing a solid 45 minutes of really high intensity cardio. I'm fine. But then by the end of the show, it was like we were about halfway through London. That it was like was it 6 or 8 weeks that we did in London, and about halfway through that, my joints just stopped. They just didn't work, and I was like, because it was a lot of kind of twists and really jarring movements, and it was like, how do if I came into this that prepped and ready for this amount of physical strain, why am I still so not capable of it? It was like, it was just this level of work I'd never needed to do before. Yeah.
I think, knowing you, it's tricky because there's that, as performers, we quite often then rely on the cardio of the show to keep us fit, which, often it does. For a period of time, it does. But then it's what we're missing is the actual resistance training that usually does help those joints to maneuver. And then with good programming around that, then you can manage the requirements of the show. But obviously, like, the real problem is going, when do your brain doesn't go, let me find the time to do this thing.
Yeah.
And also, quite often I did this for years and years and years and years, which was like, I don't have the energy. And it was, for me anyway, it's the opposite sort of bizarre scale that when I do manage to do that on a fairly consistent basis, even if it's once or twice a week during a show, then I find the outcome is that I have more energy than I did previously.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm just doing the show, I find the whole experience quite draining.
Yeah.
If
It
it's a
is about
physical show.
making, once you get past that first hurdle of like, I need to make time, I need to make myself do this. And it is, I can see that. It was just not something I did.
No, of course. And
This is a telling off. Are you telling me
I'm
off?
telling live and in person.
This is an intervention.
Just a banner comes down. Intervention. You have to have
There's no actual podcast.
You have to have a banner in an intervention, right?
Always. And then just
What does it
balloons.
say? What is
The banner says
What?
intervention.
and balloons?
Yeah, you do like a balloon drop, and it just they float down really like sad balloons.
Sad balloons.
Like a baby shower, but sad baby shower.
Sad
Yeah.
balloons.
Aren't all baby showers sad?
I don't have an answer to that.
Depends how you feel like kids.
that is true. Yeah.
You're having a go. Like, can I not have one of
Put the
any kind?
balloons back. Hang on.
Just put them back in.
If I put them back, it's like it never happened.
That's a flash forward to 9 months later when you're just trying to put it back in.
No. Oh, God.
If I put it back, is it fine?
Yeah, come on.
This is one of those weird legal things where you are legally required to take care of this thing and keep it alive for at least 18 years after this child is born. But like you can't do anything about it. Once you're like, well, it's born now.
Then what?
Crap. Like, oh God. Wow, I'm legally required. That's a big that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Tell us more, Steffan. Tell us more about how you feel.
more commitment phobia? Do you want some more of that here today?
Yeah, go on.
That's a whole episode in itself. We don't need that.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So with that, the positive is that you know what you're doing right now. Sorry to jump back from commitment phobia to those things. Is that you know how to recover.
Yeah.
And you're doing that really
It's like I'm
well.
figuring out how to recover. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And were the company good in sort of pointing you in that direction, or were you having to really
To a certain extent, yeah. It was kind of, we had a physio always on hand, but I think up by my parents, because my mom quite a few years ago had a really bad back injury, so she slipped quite a few discs, and so she had a really intense period of like rehab, that she had this one chiropractor that he's this like genius man that I then started going to him for any dancer injuries. And now I'm just so snobby that I'm just like, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, this doesn't work. This isn't Mel. Oh. So I'm kind of been, but it's, so the physio, we had physios on the show that they definitely did, they did better than, how can I phrase this? They were, yeah, it was really good support to have them there. But I think maybe it just was, I wasn't in the right mindset to kind of look for I was definitely a little bit in denial. I was like, I'm fine. I can make another 3 weeks. This is okay. Like, it was, sorry, listeners, I was pretending to smoke a cigarette like an unhealthy person. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Don't smoke, kids.
I think the science is there enough to back that up. I'm not sure, but
I'm sure. Yeah. God, what was I saying? I distract. I find myself so funny sometimes.
you thought you'd be able to get through.
I was like, yeah, I'll totally be able to get through. So I went to the physio a couple times, and they're like, well, we think it might be this, but it might be this, and it might be this, and I'll give you a little massage, send you on your way. But I do think that, like, if there was a way that we could kind of stop laughing at me, that we could build like an infrastructure within a show that
it's just so out of the blue.
Because I know you guys do the work with a lot of drama colleges and writing courses and stuff. It's almost like each show needs that. Like, it needs someone who knows the show, who knows, like, oh, you guys do this certain move. And because there were quite a few of us girls on the show that we all had a weird issue with our left hip for quite a few weeks. And we were like, what move is it that we're obviously all doing the same thing? So it's got to be something that we're doing. Like, for someone, if someone was able to know the show and know what you're doing, to then be able to go in and say, this is what needs fixing, or this is an exercise that you can do. Whereas with a physio, they're doing the best they can, but you go in and you have half an hour to go, I do this, and this, and this, and this, and I do all this weird stuff that is maybe not as relevant in a lot of sports, because dance is like this whole other level.
And we might not know. I think there's that thing, as a performer, it's not our job to know how those movements affect our body. So we actually agree with you very much so that we think that should exist in that sense, because prevention is better than cure, right? If you have somebody there to go, right, the demands of this job, looking at this track, they have to do this, and that's in order to avoid in 5 months' time them having a fairly severe hip injury, we can get them to do this twice a week and avoid that, or at least manage that strain.
And that is starting to happen. Like, there are some shows that have had like injury prevention officers kind of brought in to advise on that kind of stuff. So it's nice to see that it is starting to happen. But I think even then, they can go so much further with it. Like, I think these people have been brought in to go, oh, in the wings, you should do some calf raises before you go on. And you're like, okay, all right, yeah. But maybe we need to look at kind of a bigger picture than that. We need to look at what we're doing outside of the show. We need to look at what we're doing in the warm-ups.
Yeah, especially because I'm sure, like, I'm definitely not the only person going into a dancey show that don't have a dance background. Because like a lot of my colleagues that if they've danced for a really long time, they know they have much more technique. But whereas I can't do a double pirouette, and now I'm doing a double pirouette every night, and I'm just doing whatever the hell I can to get round.
Yeah.
And it's not, my body's not really moving in the way that it should. So it's kind of, that support system, it would honestly change everything.
So a lot of those people are trained by other people who were previously in their situation, and then those people will go on to teach other people to do the same thing, and so on and so on and so on. But those people aren't necessarily qualified to know the biomechanics of how your body works and functions in order for things like a warm-up, like Bobby said, like, hey, what is an effective warm-up for this? What you'll do is what their teacher taught them. And what their teacher probably taught them.
Warm-ups are just hand-me-downs from previous dance captains you've worked for. You're just like, I'm going to take that little bit of that choreography.
And you'll get people going, oh, we did this this brutal warm-up that was like 15 minutes of hell. and you're like, okay, is that...
You're like, that seems like a bad idea.
That's not a warm-up. That's just a workout for 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes if it's 15 minutes of hit, then you're like, that's a workout.
Yeah.
Like that is what that is, which is fine. If your show involves a lot of stamina and needs that stuff, then during rehearsals you probably need to factor in the time to make people do those workouts in the morning.
Yeah, and that is when you should be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is in
But you need a warm-up before the
rehearsals,
workout.
You need a warm-up before then and then you do that for rehearsals to build that stamina to then take it into the shows.
And then it's your job to keep it.
Or it's like any of the big dance companies, like is it Matthew Bourne that they run like an actual ballet company where they have the dance classes during the day and where they work on all the technique that they then use in the shows.
It's genius.
I
want some more of that.
It's a good idea.
Almost like they've thought about this. It's strange. Now, you also have an outside love of this for some fashion, right?
Yes, I do. That's my whole muggle job, which again is something that totally just happened to me and I had no idea it was a thing. But
well, fashion in general.
Fashion and clothes.
Fashion was a thing.
I was naked up until the age of 17.
That's why those D&D guys love you. I like D&D. It's the only time that guy's seen a naked girl.
Yep.
Sorry, that's so unfair.
No, yes, I'm sure they'd seen one or two before.
It's okay because it's coming from somebody who's incredibly nerdy themselves. It's not like
You're just talking about yourself, essentially.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm allowed. It's not
Exactly.
like I'm just mocking other people. It's like me. So it's fine.
Yeah, but it's kind of just been because again, I feel like I'm not the only one. Again, that through lockdown, I was like, oh God, I can't do this. I'm quitting. I can't do this. And so I kind of because. At some point in life, I want to go into being an agent and casting. Maybe not yet, but at some point. Really love that side of the industry. So I was like, oh, I'm going to quit and become a casting director somehow immediately. And so I was kind of looking around for all of these like various jobs, and I got into doing social media and like e-commerce for a secondhand designer clothing company that they like. It's basically a consignment store, but it's all like curated.
What's a consignment store?
So it's so if you had that microphone and you said, right, I want to sell this microphone, but I don't know anyone that wants to buy microphones, so I'm going to take it to a store and I'll say, here, can you sell my microphone for me? And then they charge you commission.
Okay.
So they'd say, right, I'll when this sells, you get £40 and I get £40, and that's consignment.
eBay, but for real people.
Right. Yeah, basically, yeah.
With better service.
Better service, and they charge a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Woo! So I kind of got into this, and I was like, wow, like there's this whole side of like that I had no idea that the whole fast fashion industry. Fun fact, I think this is correct. The fast fashion industry creates more pollution annually than the entire
Aviation?
Aviation, thank you. The entire aviation and shipping industries combined.
Wow.
Each year.
They
So
must go real fast.
so fast fashion. That's like super speed. Fast and furious fashion.
Fast and Furious. Probably so
That
angry
face.
with me.
Yeah. I really tried to politely laugh, and I was like, that's not
Don't
worth
humour
it.
me.
No.
It's okay.
No.
I
Yeah.
like to live in
Sorry.
that space where
You too. Big fan of living in that
See,
zone.
you find yourself funny. It's great. It's a
That's
really
all I
great
need.
place to live, isn't it?
I find it amusing how not amusing Bobby finds.
That's the best part, isn't it?
It gives me great joy.
You know it's bad when I go straight for the bridge of my nose.
He's in. It's like it's caused him physical pain.
Yeah.
It has caused
It
me
is.
physical
The
pain.
Steffan headache.
That's what that headache is.
There it is.
Just
Yeah.
hanging around with me.
Oh, yeah, I need to go
Yeah.
see the doctor.
Yeah.
So you ended up working for this
So
store.
so this store, and it kind of, I just learned that there was this huge negative side of like, as much as we love it, Zara, Primark, Shein, Bershka, all the big like Shein, my favorite. Anyone like
Shein.
anytime I was on the show and I was like, oh my God, girl, I love your top. Where's it from? And they were like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. And I was like, it's okay. Go on. Tell me. And they're like, it's from Shein.
It's from Shein.
Yeah. So I found out this whole world, and it's now because I love shopping. But it's like this, it is a bit of an addiction, but it's also totally supporting this really good cause of trying to make shopping this more circular thing, that like the amount of stuff that Zara doesn't sell that just goes into charity shops and they get a big tax break for it. You get it way cheaper, and it's also getting rid of a load of their waste. So like look, I think Farah, they stock old Zara things. So it's like Zara never change how their jeans fit. So you just go and buy a pair of jeans for £8. It's all circular and reducing loads of waste, and it's like half the price. And it's exactly the same thing that you would buy in Zara. So I've now kind of worked for a couple different companies, and in the end of June, the last weekend in June, I'm doing this really big like circular sustainable fashion and lifestyle event. We're working with all these big some kind of magazines are coming in and these activists, and it's like this huge green movement. I think the circular fashion industry grew last year. It grew, I think, around 300% in the UK. So it's like one of the biggest, fastest growing industries. It's so fun, and it makes shopping more fun that you find these special little things in charity shops that like anyone that knows me knows I cannot walk past a charity shop. Like I find so much. I think everything I'm wearing today is secondhand. Like I'm big fan.
I wonder with this, because I feel like shopping now has, and you may disagree with me, it sort of has no constraints. Like anything I can picture, I can buy from somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of makes stuff no fun. It's like playing a game with if you were playing D&D, but with all unlimited stats and power, then that's fun for like
It's
20
the quote.
minutes.
It's the quote from The Incredibles. And once everyone's super, no one will be.
What a niche quote.
Sorry.
But I loved it. Yeah. I love The Incredibles. That's not really that fun anymore.
Yeah.
So then giving yourself the constraint of going, oh, this is ever so slightly more challenging to find the exact item that I'm after within these moral confines that I'm giving myself. It's that can be more fun.
Yeah,
right?
and you find really funky stuff that no one else has. Like I went to a party a couple weeks ago, and there were 3 girls wearing the same dress. I was like, why did you? And they were all just there. They were like, oh, great. So it just makes it this more like fun, creative thing that you can actually go out of your way and like make it something special. Anyway, so it's like it's partially shopping addiction that I'm trying to curb and give myself a good excuse. But it's a really good cause to kind of, and I feel like a lot of people in our industry, we are quite privileged in like if we've got time during the day that we've got spare time because we're doing shows and that's our work's in the evening. So we've got a bit more time to spend on that kind of stuff. Or I don't know, some people get really good pay. Never been in one of those jobs, but not me. But like if you have a little bit more to spend on something that you're going to keep for longer and care about for longer, and you just value it more because it's a bit more special. So there you go. That's my muggle job that I've created this whole little other world for myself.
I love that. I love creating another world. Yeah. Is there anything about fitness or wellness or health in general that you'd like to see get in the bin?
Ooh. This might be a bit of I don't know, unsure about this one. I have quite often been very self-conscious and very image conscious, and I've been told I'm not allowed to feel that way because I'm slim. Stereotypically smaller.
Yeah.
And yet in the industry, and I think in the world in general, there is still so much pressure to be a extremely specific tiny shape. And but so I'm like, oh well, I'm not exactly like that, or I'm a bit of a funny shape, or I have kind of short dumpy legs and my body's shaped a little bit like a jelly bean. But it's like and then someone will go, oh, you can't feel like that, you look great, you can't feel like that. And I'm like, well, I'm still having this. I do. So is that totally invalidating my feelings and how I feel about myself? And then you just kind of get in this little spiral. But yeah, it's like almost like I feel anyone needs to be able to feel the way they do and be able to push forward with it. Anyway.
I actually really love that one. Yeah. And that actually resonates with me quite a lot because I have similar insecurities. Not that I look like a jelly bean, but different ones. Perhaps a thumb. But my own versions of that. And people are trying to be nice, I think. It all comes from a place of love, and I definitely say that. But I think, and it was yesterday actually that this happened, which is why this is really on my mind. And somebody who I really really love, sort of jumped in defense and was like, "Oh, you've always been beautiful," or whatever it is. And you're like, "That's very very kind. Like it's meant from a really lovely place, but." But what you're unintentionally doing is invalidating those feelings. So it is a strange one, isn't it? You're trying to help, but the outcome is the opposite.
Yeah.
So strange.
It is kind of anyone
Bobby.
of any. Oh, go on.
Was it me?
No, it wasn't you.
It's like, what did I say?
You'd be like, you look like a thumb.
I would tell you look like a thumb.
If I look like a thumb, you would tell me I look like a thumb. You did laugh inordinately yesterday. Is that a correct word for that? I'm not sure. When I said about your beard growing and my forehead getting larger. I think it's the most he's laughed in a long time. I was like, it seems to have really, really. There must be some truth to it if he's laughing that much.
It's because we were talking about getting a caricature. Because our office is just off Leicester Square, and they've got all the caricature guys in Leicester Square. We're like, why don't we get one of those?
Yeah.
Just for the office.
This spawned a Cartoon Network style series in my head called Baldy and the Beard. Just so you know,
a bit like Sharky and George.
Yeah, Sharky and George, Cow and Chicken, all of those things.
Sorry.
It's like Baldy and the
Pinky
Beard.
in the brain.
Pinky in the brain.
Pinky in the brain.
Oh my God, I mean
brain,
Pinky in the brain. Do you not know any of those
Pinky in the
shows?
brain.
No, I'm going to send you so many of them.
Go on.
Sharky and George was a banger.
See, I never had the privilege.
That's because I'm older.
Pinky in the brain, though.
Pinky in the brain's great.
You'd be both horrified. Now, if you look at them as an adult and you don't have any recollection, you'd be like, what is happening? But they are genius. So we've covered this a little bit. So any advice to somebody entering the industry now? I know you mentioned it doesn't matter where you train, but how you train. But anything else that you might say to somebody who was...
I'd say take every single opportunity that you can. If it pays, if it doesn't pay, it's like, again, another thing I've learned is everyone knows everyone. And if you're a really easy person to work with and you're always up for a challenge, and of course, don't go like totally burning yourself out. But I think it is an industry where you need to be able to push yourself. So push yourself. I think that's... Yeah.
Yes, man, this bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
If you haven't
Totally
seen this film, please watch it.
Please watch it.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
You need to do like external links at the end of each podcast. Like, here's the references that we have. Like, yeah,
because none of you know our references.
Here's the 100 nerdy references we put into this one.
Yeah, the secret ones that we've stuck in as well.
So now, without changing the expression on your face, that's the challenge I'm about to give you. We will guess whether you've lied and or what we think the lie might be. Now, I guessed first last time, so I'm going to give you this one, Bobby, and I'm going to talk until you feel you have one.
You could be talking for a while.
Yeah, because I'm going to make a cut. I think she has lied.
I think she's lied as well.
I think you've managed it, but I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I think you've lied, and I think it's to do with your A-levels. I don't think you got bad A-level grades. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. I'm going to guess that you... I've got to do it. I've got to guess that you didn't join the D&D society in that uni.
You're both wrong.
Damn!
Yeah, I kind of knew mine was wrong.
I hate being wrong.
I was clutching at straws.
To hit us with it.
I said I went to the States and did loads of talent competitions as a kid, and I never did any talent competitions. There you go.
Well played.
That is.
Was that too? So was that one of your ones that actually my hair was light brown?
No.
That's a good lie.
That is a.
I'm very proud.
That's some strong lying.
It wasn't like.
Did you not notice at the time when I started? I was like, I did talent competitions and then left a huge gap and started giggling.
No, I feel like
No,
these are the things, right? When we're watching stuff, our brains fill in the stories and we'll fill in the gaps as to what we think is happening.
Yeah.
But so for you, it's become really obvious that you've lied, and for us, at that point, we must have just been thinking she's nervous.
Yeah, I was thinking about American dance competitions. I was like,
You're like, I love those.
That's where my brain went. It's time for a game of this or that.
Oh, go on.
So we're going to have 1 minute on the clock. Steffan is going to give you 2 options. You get to pick one of them, and you got to do it nice and quickly. Got to try and rack them up as quick as we can. All right, 1 minute on the clock. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Eggs or vegetarian bacon?
Veggie bacon.
White bread or brown bread?
Brown.
US office or friends?
Office.
Cardio or resistance training?
Resistance.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Singing or acting?
Singing.
Bats or hell?
Fuck. Hell.
Yoga or Pilates?
Pilates.
Family Guy or Love Island?
Family Guy.
Domino's Pizza or Papa John's?
Domino's.
Sport or dance?
Dance.
Alcohol or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Matching socks or mismatching socks?
I did not understand what you just said.
Good. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Jacob or Potiphar?
Jacob.
Game of Thrones or Glee?
Game of Thrones.
Book or Kindle?
Book.
Clean shaven or beard?
Beard.
Personal chef or personal stylist?
Chef.
Guitar or piano?
Guitar.
Sexy body or sexy mind?
Mine.
Shower or bath?
Shower.
Chanel or Dior?
Chanel.
Dogs or babies?
Dogs.
Snakes or badgers?
Badges.
Theme park or water park?
Water park.
Running or walking?
Walking.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Bobby or Steffan?
Neither.
Strong.
Neither. We only had a couple of neithers.
Well, recently but it seems to be a theme. Recently, it's been
what
neithers.
we're putting out there in the
We're
episode.
giving that vibe,
How
that
did you
energy.
time-wise on that?
54 seconds.
Pretty good.
That's decent.
Wow.
Matching socks or mismatching
Yeah.
socks was the thing I was unable to say.
I enjoyed bat or hell.
Bats or hell?
That really got me. Bats or hell.
Particularly, fuck. Yes, Jacob over Potiphar. Fair. Fair. Oh, God.
So much PTSD.
The trauma for all of us.
That's what this actually is. It's just a Joseph AA meeting.
Anyone that has been in Joseph, I feel like you're part of this weird club that is like, you've endured this wonderful, it's a wonderful show.
It is a wonderful show.
All this wonderful joy that comes with it, but then there's that stress. Everyone goes like, oh, do you still remember the colours? And that's because it's terrifying to try and remember the colours.
It is.
I did a cabaret night, and that was the host invited me, and I was like, "Come on out, just before you do your song, really quick. We've got a question for you." And he was like, "What are the colors?" And I was like,
Yeah, take the microphone. It was red. And over to you.
Yeah. It just so happened that there were two of my choir girls that they've been these really great little fans, and they come see me and everything. They're really lovely. They bought me a little bunny rabbit, not a real one, not a real one.
You're like,
thank you.
Here's the punch.
No, and so they'd come to see that cabaret, and they were right in the front row, and they were screaming the whole crowd. I was like, "Yeah, girls, come on! That's how you do it."
That is what Beyonce has done on her current tour. I don't know if you know. She has actually put the words up on the screen for herself during the show.
I feel like that happens more and more though. Like I think a lot of concerts now have like auto cue.
And people, but on the thing behind it, because people are defending this because they're going, she does have a lot to remember. And you're like, well, yes.
She is Beyonce.
She doesn't do anything else.
It's not like she has like a 9 to 5 working at your local.
It's not like something she's doing for fun at the end of the week. She's prepped for this tour for months.
Yeah.
There's songs that supposedly, she's had a hand in writing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can at least learn the words. It's the bare minimum.
Oh man, I swear this is everywhere now.
Yeah.
Like
But if you guys
you watch anything, like you see, like anytime you watch any like big gigs, they've got auto cue of the words that they're singing.
Well, now that they auto tune the microphone and they're queuing up the words.
Sometimes it's actually not a real person on there; it's just a hologram.
Well yeah, this is AI.
Yeah, right. But to a certain extent, I'm like, very soon they'll be able to make you see them dance when they're not dancing. I'm like, where is the skill in this anymore? Like there is, she can sing, but that's where we've been going wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
All concerts need
I just needed skill.
That's true for me. Well. Thank you so much for joining us, Alex.
It's been lovely to be here.
Glorious. Thank you very much for joining.
And we went down a very, very nerdy route, didn't we?
We took some tangents, and I really enjoyed the tangents.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening to those tangents too.
Yeah. And if you enjoy this episode, click those like and subscribe buttons. Find us on Instagram at fit2_talk. As always, if you've got any questions you want answered, slide into those DMs. I'll be in there playing D&D.
Just solo
Solo D&D in the bath.
In a dark room, yeah.
That's what you call it. Thanks again for listening. And if you've liked what you've heard, we've been Fit2 Talk with our wonderful guest, Alex Doar, myself, Steffan.
And me, Bobby. And if you didn't like it, we've been Joe Wicks. Peace out!